This conference will now be recorded.
Hey everybody, welcome to Relationship Redo. I'm your host, Brian Gangle.
And I'm Lori McNeil.
And as Twin Souls, tonight we're going to be discussing why relationships fail to blossom. And this is, of course, the makeup date from last Sunday. As you know, last Sunday we had the World Organization of Natural Medicine's conference, and then we have some unexpected delays, so we weren't able to broadcast on Sunday. So this is the makeup, which is available on the recordings. As you know, I'm a doctor of humanitarian sciences, board certified integrated medicine practitioner, proud member of BOEM, the Board of Integrated Medicine, and a business architect, holistic health expert, and event designer.
I'm Lori McNeil, international business strategist, media and branding expert, featured in media platforms over 500 times a year.
And of course, we are both twin souls, and we're bringing this incredible technology and the information for everyone on Relationship Redo. So for Quantum Events 2021, we have a lot of things to discuss. We'll make it brief for you. Of course, we have our fabulous podcast called Lightning Strikes Twice that we put together, and we put up a new episode every week. In our newsletters that we send out, you have links to them, but you can listen to them on Spreaker, Stitcher, Android, iTunes, wherever you find your favorite podcasts, or right on the Spreaker Podcast Network itself, and just key in Twin Souls on Fire or Lightning Strikes Twice, and it'll take you right to our fabulous podcast. 20 minutes of great fun, great information, great infotainment for you. Don't miss it, Twin Souls on Fire, the podcast. And of course, we have our big event, which is Twin Souls on Fire, the live event, the feel-good event of the year. Tickets are on sale at eventbrite.com. Just key in Twin Souls on Fire, and our fabulous new landing page, twinsouls.live, which Lori and her team put together with a ton of interactive activities in it, great information, and everything you need to know to prepare for the Twin Souls on Fire live event. And of course, we're going to be in Toronto, Canada, just a little north in a place called Markham, and we're going to be at the Markham Hilton Suites on November 27th, 28th. The event is live and virtual, so you can get tickets both ways. Don't miss it. Then we're going to be in Orlando, Boise, Honolulu, and then we're going to be in Ixtapa. And get all the details are coming soon. And of course, at our landing page, you'll learn a ton of things, but everything that you can expect, like why, how you should question everything in relationships, the art of relationship reconstruction, how to love yourself, and a ton of workshops, unlocking your superpowers, why relationships fail to ignite, life path directive, building better connections, and so much more. And of course, we'll be answering your questions, as we've had some questions for us from the last webinar, and we'll carry those questions forward after we are finished tonight. Tonight, you give us great privilege on Relationship Redo, why relationships fail to blossom. This is going to be a lot of fun, Lori. I've been waiting for this one, and I'm glad that we got this one off the hop. So first up off the hop is communication is one of the reasons they fail to blossom, and there are many reasons why twin souls fail to communicate effectively. For example, the listener identifies you as being judgmental and not providing enough space for any real solutions to be communicated.
There are many reasons why communication is so important and why communication fails, and you may not have their full attention, and thus there's parts of your message that might not be fully understood. The whole message then becomes distorted and not really the original intention communicated.
And sometimes bad timing is the reason for failed communication. One partner might be too busy to give their full attention. In some cases, they might just be too tired or have bigger items on their plate or the agenda, or spinning too many plates, and this becomes an obvious reason why communication fails. So let's discuss that, Lori. So first off, communication is the core of any relationship, and you and I have made that really a fundamental principle in our relationship, without a doubt. So when it comes to communication, we've had a lot of issues because we're operating in literally two different time zones, 3 hours apart. But also at the same time, we're also operating in a different paradigm. You're in the United States, I'm in Canada. And simply through the internet, we've had issues where some interesting things have happened, where we're talking about very important subjects, and suddenly the communication network breaks down. And we get one word coming in, and it's all garbly-goop, and then next thing you know, did you say that? Did you really mean that? No, I didn't. And then so we revert back to text message. And so we're sending text messages back and forth. And the problem with text messaging communication is no emotion and no tone of voice is being communicated, and that leads to a complete breakdown of what the original message was. And so these are some of the problems that we've been experiencing. And so what we have done is we've set up communication back channels. And so if something fails, we have backup channels that we use. And sometimes, as I've always said to Lori, I said, if we get into a subject where, where Lori's very, very busy or very, very tired, I'll say, let's pause that. Let's pause that for now. And let's circle back to it later. And that's one of our back channels that we use, is that we make a mental note of it. And sometimes I actually write a physical note. Like, I don't let anything go by in the relationship. I'll actually take a piece of paper, make a note of what I said, because this becomes part of our core. And we're going to talk about our manifesto in a future episode. And that's one of the key things that we're going to be talking about at the live event, is building the manifesto. And that's really exciting. But when we have that thing where you're too tired, it's too late at night, remember, for me, when your son goes to bed, it's probably about 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, my time. And that's when we begin our communication. And so we're communicating all night. So I could get very tired, and then it builds up a nasty cycle where we don't get enough sleep or enough restorative capabilities to be able to communicate effectively the next day. So we set up time lots. We say, we're going to get together in the morning and we're going to talk this hour to this hour. Then we're going to talk in the afternoon and this hour. Then we might text back and forth during the dinner hour. Then we'll have a full communication later at night. So we've set up time blocks. And if anything fails, we revert back to our back channel where we say, let's make a note of that. Let's circle back to it later. And one of the keys to great effective communication is not leaving anything behind. We always end up circling back to it. What about for you?
Yeah. Well, although technology has been super important, being in 2 different countries and being 3 hours apart, we're very blessed, very grateful for that. It definitely has presented some challenges. We've been in the middle of very important conversations, and the technology just goes dead.
Yeah.
And so that can be frustrating. And so then we'll reconnect and it'll go dead again. And so that actually can increase the frustration when you're trying to get through a topic, and the communication isn't necessarily helping matters in whatever it is that we're talking about. So you have to make sure that in situations like that you're not allowing that that outside force basically to heighten the situation, make things worse, cause a frustration that has nothing to do with the topic. And so when that happens, it's very important that you make sure that things don't go unresolved. They don't go undiscussed, and that maybe you do set that date for a different time, or whatever it is. But I think that the full attention is really important. So in that second paragraph that I read, it is important that I have your full attention, you have my full attention. We're not on the phone, we're not on technology, we're not distracted by other things, going on around us.
Yeah.
Because there have been times where it could be music, it could be somebody driving by, it can be, your phone beeping because somebody else is trying to call you. There's all these outside things. And it is really important that you shut off everything around you so that you have strong, focused communication, and that we actually do have each other's full attention. Because you have to remember, it might be important to me, what's important to me should be important to him, and vice versa. And it might, nothing is small, there's no small thing. If you're going to communicate it, make sure that there's the respect and the full attention there, because it's important no matter what it is. And so those things are all really important. The timing of everything, absolutely. We have a time zone issue. I've got different things with my son, and we have different business obligations and different things. So it's important that, especially if it's a really important topic, you've got to be smart about your timing, and don't force the other person to communicate if they really are not able to communicate in that moment because they're too tired or they're distracted or whatever it is. And so you have to take all these things into consideration.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things is that you can't create an environment that's really judgmental. I mean, for me in past relationships, some of my partners, when I'm communicating with them, they begin incredibly judgmental. And it can be because of my tone of voice, because of the subject, or because they have a very strong opinion about something. You can't communicate effectively if the other person is prejudging everything that's coming out of your mouth. And sometimes communication doesn't come just necessarily in words. It's in gestures, it's in actions. That's other ways that we communicate. So to communicate effectively, you have to create that safe environment, like a safe little nest where you can both land, it's a sanctuary, and you can communicate effectively. So these are all going to be impediments to having effective communication. And that is definitely one of the reasons why relationships fail to blossom in the first place. Next, number 2 is commitments. So the first item to discuss is about promises that are made between the twin souls, or any relationship. When we don't keep our promises, then over time, our intention no longer holds any weight. It becomes hard to trust the other partner and it creates false expectations about any future intention. A promise is an assurance of doing something.
One reason we don't keep our commitments is that sometimes our intentions are well-meaning, but we simply made too many commitments. We say, yes, I can do that to everything and everybody. In certain cases, we understand what is required to keep a commitment. It might require more time and effort or money to fulfill that commitment. Commitments also require us to prioritize our intentions. It is simply too easy to shuffle our commitments. Staying on track and keeping our promises in alignment with our time constraints is vitally important to a successful execution of any commitments.
Well, do you want to take it first, or do you want me to take this one about commitments? And
I'll go first because
okay, you go first.
I struggle with this one a little bit.
Let me get my tea for this one. This is going to be a strong one, I can tell you that.
I tend to, so I have a couple of different challenges with this one personally. I tend to overcommit and like to say yes to everybody and everything. And so then I get a little bit jammed up and I have a hard time sometimes keeping my commitments. But the other thing that I have to remember is really prioritizing what's important. Not only not saying yes to everybody and everything, but it's not really important that I say yes to everybody and everything. It's important that you prioritize what actually is worth your time and resources to commit to. So there's definitely some challenges that I've faced that even though I've come through, I definitely continue to work on this one. And that's where you and I have a lot of conversations about even what time that we're going to talk sometimes, because I get overcommitted. And it's one that you have to stay focused on and you have to take seriously, because one partner can start to feel like they don't matter, or that all these other things matter, above them, when that's not your intention at all.
Well, I agree completely. And to me, it's about that I have always made a core philosophy of who I am as a person is to honor my commitments. And when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. And you've demonstrated that. And so you've seen that in action, Lori. You've seen that when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So when I come off the cuff and I say, I will do this, that I'm serious, and that my actions are my bond. And that is very important, because it's too easy to say to somebody, you know what, if you do this, I'm going to do this. And then they're not going to follow through. And if they're not going to follow through, you're going to go, you're all talk. You're no action. I've been known as a man of action. And in a relationship, you have to deliver. You have to fulfill your commitments. And not just once or twice. You can't say, well, I fulfilled my commitments for a year, I can drop the ball. You can never drop the ball. Because if you drop the ball once, then they know you could drop the ball again. And that's the thing. It's like a light switch. Once on can always be on. If it's always off, you never know if it's going to be on. So if I'm always keeping my commitments, then my history is going to dictate my future. And therefore, you can rely on me. And when you can rely on the other person, you have that bond. That's that unbreakable bond. Because everybody else around you may fail their commitments. They may make a promise and not follow through. But you know that you can always rely on your partner. And you have to be able to fulfill those commitments every single time. Never make a promise or commitment you can't deliver.
Absolutely. I agree. And you are amazing at that.
Well, thank you, Lori. And at the end of the day, so are you, as you have always come through in the clutch. Even when it comes to last minute, we're putting a webinar together, and and I know you're time crunched, and you have the amazing capacity that you're a linear and lateral thinker, and you have a capacity to read 800 words a minute with like how much retention? 96.
836 with 94%.
94 retention, which is just insane. Okay, that's just crazy. Okay, so at the last minute, she says, I'm going to be at the webinar, or I'll be at that seminar. And at the last minute, she has read all the material and she has everything that she needs to do, all the nuts and bolts. She's ready to present, and she can do it every single time. She never makes a commitment she can't follow through on. And that's an impressive record. And that tells me I can always rely on her. Okay, the next one is obligations, and it's a slightly different take from commitments. Now, obligations are acts or courses of action to which the person is morally and legally bound. These differ from a promise or a commitment. That obligations are filled out for a sense of duty. Promises, for instance, or something that you have agreed to do, yet you don't feel the pressure from society or any legal pressures to follow through. Now, that's the difference between an obligation and a commitment.
Obligations hold more weight because society at large is counting on us to follow through. For example, we feel a sense to be good to our fellow citizens, but not necessarily to do good. In a relationship, we assume certain obligations like being faithful, not because of a promise or commitment, but because society frowns on it. Obligations can provide us with a sense of purpose in life. Brian, why don't you start us off with this one?
Well, it's the key word is faithful. Okay, faithful, which is full of faith. So if you have faith in me, then you have a belief in me. And so if I'm going to step out of the relationship and be unfaithful, then how am I possibly going to have any obligations or any commitments? From there, I'm breaking the word of society. I'm breaking the bond of God. And I'm not going to defile my church. So I'm not going to defile my own ability to carry out and be faithful to my obligations. So being unfaithful is one of the key obligations that a lot of relationships break. And this is where relationships really break down. And it happens for a number of reasons. Either one person maybe puts on a little bit of weight and the other person can't understand it. One person's going through hormonal change and they don't understand it. One person is decided, I have so many time commitments. I have the children, work, stress, friends, and I can't spend as much time with you. And so then all of a sudden they break their faithfulness. They are no longer full of faith and you can't rely on them. This is one of the number one reasons. So when it comes to things like obligations, you have to fulfill them. You can't ignore them. And there are lots of them that we have to work with every single day. So faithfulness is probably the number one obligation that you must keep. Now, if you feel like you need to step out of a relationship for whatever reason, my suggestion has always been, number one, if it's a hormonal change that the guy's going through or the woman's going through, and suddenly the bedroom fund stops to drop off, then learn about hormones. Spend some time together to discover how hormones actually work. Being a holistic health expert for 25 years, we'll never have that problem because we're constantly having the discussion about health. If it's you're putting on a little bit of weight, then don't say to your partner, "Oh my God, you're putting on a little bit of weight. There, you got a little bit of a COVID muscle going on." Then lead by example and say, "Hon, I'm going for a walk every day. Want to come?" "Yeah, yeah, I'll come." And I'm going for a run. You coming? "Yeah, I'll come for a run." And you make it a fun experience together. You never talk about, "Oh my God, you're getting fat. Oh my God, you're no more attractive." We're going to get into attractiveness in a minute. Lead by example. If you are sliding as a guy, and guys are guilty of this more than the woman, and they say, "Well, I've got the woman now. Now, I can be Homer Simpson. I can be Al Bundy now. I don't have to longer be attractive." Well, if that's the way you want to be, then that's the way your mate's going to be. Then you haven't fulfilled your obligation. Your obligation is to be attractive to your partner at all times, regardless of what they're doing. Lead by example. If you're doing that, you can guarantee you'll be faithful and they will be faithful, full of faith.
Like that. And we will get into attractiveness here in a minute, but it definitely parlays right into what we're talking about with obligations. So I like what you said about leading by example. Instead of judging your partner or berating them with all kinds of lectures about what they're doing or not doing and how they should be doing it right. I love what you said about leading by example in that. So instead of putting all the responsibility basically on them and making them feel horrible in most cases, you're saying that you're fulfilling your obligation in your part of the relationship by leading by example, going for that walk, exercising, inviting your partner to come with you, supporting them in their nutrition, whatever that looks like, in order to have that strong communication, that strong bond, that strong faithfulness that continues to go. So how committed is your and faithful is your partner going to feel if all they feel is complete judgment from you, that they maybe don't look as good, they don't act as good, they don't do this, they don't do that? That's going to be a major breakdown, major unfaithfulness, major distrust, whole bunch of things that are just a ripple effect. Nobody likes to feel like they're less than anyone else. And that's exactly what happens when the partner feels like they're not attracted to me anymore, they don't love me anymore, I'm not doing anything right, all these things. And that's actually what a lot of people end up doing. "Oh, I wish you would do this," or "You need to do that." And really, when you lead by example, it's really a more loving way to lead. I mean, really, when
Exactly.
you think about leading with love, it really is much more respectful, much more loving. When we're talking about obligations and faithfulness and what that looks like, then you really need to lead with love, not judgment or lectures, which is really what a lot of people end up doing.
That's right. And so let's move on to number 4, which is leads right into this, which is expectations. This is one of the key reasons why relationships fail to blossom. And a relationship can start off and it's like a flower. You can get a bloom. And if you think of like an orchid, the orchid sits there and it looks like it's dead. Okay. And the relationship's sitting there, it's kind of dead. And then all of a sudden, one day you go over to the window ledge and you go, oh my gosh, the thing blossomed. And why did it blossom? It blossomed because the conditions were right. And one of those conditions is expectations. Expectations are events or actions that most likely happen. They are beliefs centered in the future, and in some cases may be considered unrealistic. They are constructs usually created in the mind. The disconnect between what we believe was going to happen and what did happen leads to a runaway cascade, which is our negative thought pattern.
Mm. We move out of one of the circle of our routine into a confusing series of disheartening possibilities. This is when the fear sets in. It is important to keep in mind flexible to avoid the interruption of what we feel is the norm. Unmet expectations can lead to anger, disappointment, jealousy, annoyance, bitterness, resentment, and a whole lot of insecurities.
Okay, now before we discuss it, a dear friend of mine sent me this, and you know, we worked on this in the past years and years and years ago, and I thought this is something I kept, and I wanted to bring it forward because I thought it was very important about expectations. And this was expectations and personal power. When you have expectations of another person, you are giving away your personal power. If your happiness or sense of balance or well-being depends on what the other person does or does not do or does not say, then that other person has control of your happiness. This means you'll likely try to control and manipulate the other person, and that's what you don't want to do in order to have your expectations met, because so much is riding on what they're doing or what they don't do. By having expectations that of that other person, you create a situation where you eventually are going to be doomed. There's no way one person can meet another person's expectations 100% of the time, nor should they have to, or nor should they even have to try.
Even if somehow that other person were to meet your expectations an amazing 90% of the time, you would never notice because you think that's how it should be. You will only notice the 10% of the time that your expectations are not met because you are now miserable. By living like this, you have totally given away your power because you are now totally dependent upon the other person for your happiness. And that other person is simply never responsible for your happiness. They will not ever be able to fulfill the huge hole inside of you or take away the fear.
We are each in charge of and responsible for our own happiness. No person was ever born into this world to meet the expectations of another. It's not my job to meet your expectations, nor is it the job to meet mine. Take back your power by making your own happiness totally dependent on your own attitude and inner state. Then, when the other person shows up in your life, you can share the happiness, and you can share the happiness together. This is really, really powerful stuff.
It is.
So let's talk about expectations. Let's come out of screen share here for a minute, and let's talk about expectations. Well, first, very simply, Lori, you and I, we have created a lot of expectations of one another over the year, over this last year. It's been incredible. You know, it's been 9 months now, and it's incredible the expectations we have created upon one another. And we have made it in the beginning the responsibility of ourselves always for our own happiness. We have our own interests, we have our own friends, we have our own family circles, and we have begun to share everything together. But we've always made it responsible that it's our responsibility for ourselves to be happy. But I have also made it my responsibility to make you happy. And that is one of the keys in a relationship. I feel a personal expectation of mine is to fulfill whatever I can do to make you happy, whether it's making breakfast, planning a trip, buying something nice, going for a walk, being there, showing up, following through with my commitments. following through with my desire to fulfill my obligations in the relationship. So I feel a personal responsibility to meet those expectations to bring you happiness. I think that that's something that I need to do every single day and demonstrate. But my own personal happiness is always at the end of the day my responsibility. And I'll never put my own happiness in your hands to say you are responsible for making me happy. If you're not happy with yourself, then you'll never be happy with anybody else making you happy in the first place. You have to be happy with yourself. That's something that I teach at the Life Path Directive, which is part of the live event at the Twin Souls on Fire live experience. I always look at it this way. If you believe that your expectations for being happy are dependent on someone else, then please go to 30,000 feet metaphorically. Take yourself up to that higher level and look down on yourself. Leave yourself, leave your causal body for a moment. Travel to 30,000 feet and look back down on yourself, and you will see that your own individual happiness, that expectation, rests on no one else other than yourself.
Mm-hmm. And you are amazing at that. And whenever there's frustration or sadness or anything going on, I always try to, what can I do? I want you to feel better. I don't want you to, so I'm always trying to figure out how I can make your day better or help you in that moment of frustration. We were trying to book some travel plans earlier, and I immediately was trying to help solve the problem and jump online to research what we needed to, because we ran into a little bit of a glitch with our travel plans. And it was whatever I can do to try to help in that situation, because I never want anybody to feel frustration or sadness. And I think that when we're committed like that to each other of what can I do to make you happy? What can you do to make me happy? And at the same time, not put the responsibility on you're not responsible for my happiness, right? But it's kind of serving through love in each other. But the thing that I run into with this one,
that is so amazing. Serving through love. That's just awesome. Truly, truly awesome. Yeah.
But this is actually one that that I think people are probably guilty of without even really thinking of it fully. And I know in different relationships, when I've talked to different friends and different people that I've known throughout the years, a lot of people will say things that are very common language, like, well, they should have just known, right? They'll say things like, well, he should have just known that I was going to be upset about that. He should have just known that that's what I needed for today or whatever. And there's that level of expectation that really is unmet, that hasn't been established, it hasn't been communicated. It's like this mystery that people are just supposed to know what they're supposed to do in any given situation. And that truly is where the unmet expectation can lead to anger. And so you have to really make sure that you're keeping it realistic with what that expectation is, but that you're also making sure that that expectation, that you're pushing yourself to be the best that you can be for not only your own happiness and what you need, but how can you serve the other person, through love, and how can that be a mutual exchange of service through love, and in that through obligations, communication, everything that we're talking about, so that the anger doesn't creep in, because once it starts to creep in, it's amazing.
The relationship will not blossom.
It starts to break down, and then pretty soon, every little thing, even when somebody's trying, every little thing that they go to do is not appreciated, is not noticed, and you automatically tend to jump to conclusions about what their ulterior motive may be. So you really have to watch this particular one. It's a very, very big deal, and it definitely is a huge reason why relationships don't blossom.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, the last one here is attractiveness, and relationships start off, and everybody's always on their best foot, right? And you're always dressed up, especially if you're doing blind dates, especially if you're going online dating, especially if you're meeting someone and you go, oh, let's get together later, and the relationship's just beginning. You're always priming and grooming and getting everything perfect, makeup perfect, hair, clothes, color, oh, everything's pressed. Only time an iron ever comes out of the closet, seems for most guys, is when it's like for 1 to 3 dates, for the first 3 dates, and then all of a sudden the iron's out, right? Other than that, the iron's collecting dust. It's unbelievable. But and it's the same thing with women. Everything's great, awesome. Now the question is when is the relationship going to blossom? When is it going to explode into a full-blown relationship? There's that moment, that magic moment. And it's the most delicious moment in a relationship, when all of a sudden you turn to the person, you go, well, I think you're going to be my girlfriend. and I think I'm going to be your boyfriend. And I think this is going to go past just a couple of dates. And all of a sudden there's that, I think it's okay. And you reach out and you go, the relationship's going to blossom. But then all of a sudden, 5, 10 dates in, all of a sudden you start to lose the attractiveness. The clothes change.
The effort.
The hygiene changes. And all of a sudden, there it goes. And suddenly they go, maybe there's a better deal for me somewhere else. Because if this is what's going to happen now, then this is indicative of what could happen in the future. They're going to let themselves go. Physical attractiveness. You know that when you took the challenge online at twinsouls.live, you know that we talked about the physical appearance. And we talk about, you know, the spiritual, the friendship, the mentorship, the life partnering, and the romance. But on the other side of the equation, we give you all of the breakdown of the other side, and that's what we talk about at the actual live event. And then there's the physical appearance. When the physical appearance goes, if it goes early in the relationship, there's no way the relationship's going to blossom into that full-blown relationship, because they know you're not going to fulfill your obligation. They know you're not going to fulfill your expectations. They know that everything else that we talked about tonight is going to go. So what's the answer? There's a number of answers. The first answer is, number one, is you've got to be on your best foot forward all the time. It's non-negotiable. Every single day. You can't afford to slide, because then if it happens once, it can happen again. And if it happens again, you're going to go, it's comfortable now. Now I've got her. I've got her. She's mine now. It's nothing. I can let it all go. And then all of a sudden, just like a tree or a plant or a flower that doesn't get the water, the sunshine, the nutrients, it wilts, and eventually it no longer blossoms. So, one, understand the aging process. Being a holistic health expert, I'm an anti-aging expert. So I understand what's necessary to keep myself youthful. Yeah, I'm 15 years older than Lori. Yeah, but look at me. And we look great together. Why? Because I really take care of myself. So guys, put in the effort. Make your own skin creams. Make yourself, you get your skin beautiful. Make sure you're groomed every day. Make sure you wash. Make sure you wash your clothes. Make sure you got fresh clothes. Make sure you got new clothes, so you always got something new coming in, right? Spice up your act. What would you suggest for ladies?
Oh man, so I remember when we were first doing a lot of our video dating, right? I would actually like take a shower and put on fresh hair and makeup and clothes and everything for a video date. But I was so excited because I just thought, oh man, I want to look good for you, right? And you feel good when you do that anyway. So I didn't have to, because I could have just said like, oh, that's just a video date and it's good enough and we're just going to jump on and talk or whatever. But I wanted to present myself in an attractive, way to you, and I wanted you to know that I cared about you and our relationship enough to care to put in that kind of effort, right? So it's all in your mind of also what you think about it, the value of your relationship, how much do you value that in order to put forth the effort in small and in big ways. So for women, I mean, yeah, it's not enough to just say, oh yeah, take a shower, but it's like, go ahead and take that time to put on makeup, curl your hair, put on an extra cool, necklace, jewelry, whatever that is. And just go that extra step sometimes. Like, it doesn't matter if you're just palling around downtown or whatever it is, but put forth that extra effort, because you will feel like we do feel good when we get, like, it's not just for our partner, but we also feel good, which also just kind of gives us a completely different frame of mind, and attitude and behavior that you're stepping into, all aspects of that communication and your interaction with your partner too. Like, it goes both ways, but then also the response that you get from your partner is going to be different. They're going to go, ooh la la.
Yeah.
So there's different ways to look at it, but put forth the extra effort, put on a little bit, nicer pair of pants or whatever it is, and use that extra effort, extra perfume, extra whatever. And it's not that it's not necessary, or, oh, we've been together for 5 years or whatever. It absolutely matters, because when you start to slip, there's other areas that you're also slipping in, and that's when things start to really, really break down. So like you were saying, every day you have to put in the effort every day. And we talked about this in a previous episode. We don't believe in the honeymoon phase, right? That's something that a lot of people say. It's like, oh, that's the honeymoon phase. The honeymoon phase is over. And We don't believe in that, and we believe that that mentality is like dangerous.
It's forever.
So don't get yourself caught up in thinking that it doesn't matter because you've been together and, oh, they accept me for who I am and all this stuff. Well, yes, you can accept the person for who they are, but then that doesn't give you the license to be lazy about it.
Yeah. And I mean, I've always been super attracted to Lori, and you know, and you can see it in our posts in Instagram. I post on Instagram. Lori posts about us on Facebook, so we share the social media duties. And you can see all the pictures that we post, and in my newsletter, you can see all the pictures, and you can see how Lori is just completely always made up, and she always looks just fabulous. So here's one of the things about attractiveness. You know, when you're out in public together with your partner, where are your eyes? Are your eyes on your partner? Because if your eyes are constantly on your partner, you can bet that that relationship's going to blossom. You can bet that everything from the bedroom fun to exploring new things together, from having new adventures together, from problem solving and going through difficult times together, you know that if you feel that way about the person, you're going to put in that huge expectation, that huge effort. You're going to fulfill your obligations. You know the relationship's going to continue to blossom day after day after day. And I can tell you that we are extremely observant, and I'll be walking in a very, very busy area, like we were down at Disney Springs many times, a very powerful, huge shopping village on the lake, you know, with tons of different shops and stores and thousands of people. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen other couples walking around, and the guy's eyes are not on his partner that he's with, but on you. And I watch it all the time. And I can't tell you how many times the reverse, where I see somebody walking and the girl's eyes are on me. And I'm thinking to myself, if he's staring at her or if she's staring at me, then how is that relationship going to blossom if they're looking for other people? Now, I don't know what their personal circumstances are. I don't know. But I'm just saying, in general, as an example, if your eyes are constantly on your partner because they're just irresistible in your eyes. And to me, Lori is just like the cat's meow. She's like, uber attractive to me. Because she's my twin soul, I've been searching for her my whole life. And so I literally cannot keep my eyes off you all the time. My hands are on you all the time. And that tells you how I feel about you, regardless of all of the distractions. And when you have that kind of bond, you know the relationship every day, every minute is going to blossom. And it's going to blossom into new areas that you didn't even know existed. And you will overcome any obstacle that comes your way, because a flower that blossoms is one of the most beautiful things that God could have ever created. And when that flower is vibrant and colorful and living and expanding and growing, that's just like a relationship. It will continue to blossom forever and ever. And that's what I hope for everyone out there, not just twin souls.
You know, there's another aspect of this too that comes to my mind, and that is that if your partner has taken the time and the effort to do something, you know, get dressed up, whatever that might look like, and your eyes are and your attention is not on them, you're going to end up creating major insecurities. So there's two things that'll happen. You'll create major insecurities in that person because they'll think that no matter what they do, it's not good enough, right? You're not attracted to them. So that's one thing. The other thing that will happen is that they'll start to think that it's not worth their time or their effort, that no matter what they do, basically isn't good enough, that they're not keeping your attention. So they'll start to put forth less and less and less effort and less care into even doing it at all. And then your partner will say, oh, well, you never put forth the effort, you never do it, right? So it's like this back and forth thing where really, you know, both parties are responsible. Both parties need to be more engaged in that process and understanding the reasons why and why not, that it's so important. So when your partner makes the effort, make sure that they know that you appreciate the effort. Eye contact, focus, touching them,
She's
whatever it is.
Constantly reassuring me and reinforcing the fact how she is attracted to me. When we're walking in public, I always can feel her arm, her hand is always on my back, almost constantly, and squeezing my butt, and you know, and grabbing my shoulder and grabbing my hand, and that is always a clue and a cue, a physical cue that she is appreciating the effort. And when you appreciate the effort, just that little bit of appreciation, that is going to just reinforce the fact that the relationship's going to blossom over and over and over. And remember, what we're telling you is just our opinions based on personal experience. It's just general. It's not a hard and fast rule. It's just our opinion based on our experiences. So this is what we have found. it has been an amazing secret for us that we are sharing this information with you. And we hope that some of it will resonate with you, and you'll get these few pearls, these few nuggets that could literally explode your relationship and cause it to blossom in new ways. And that's what we hope for every single one of you. Let's bring our screen back here as we're going to wrap up, and that is on the attractiveness. And of course, a lot more to be discussed at the live event. So we're going to bring our Q&A session in just after the recording. Just a reminder that our Twin Souls on Fire podcast, we have new episodes up every week, and it's available at Spreaker, Stitcher, Android, wherever you listen to finer podcasts, and just key in Lightning Strikes Twice or Twin Souls on Fire, and it will take you right there. And our live event now is 18 days away for the kickoff to Twin Souls on Fire, the live experience. And you get two tickets, live or virtual, and the discount code is my first name, Brian, with an I, or Lori, L-O-R-I, and you can get I think it's $150 discount on it. And so that's an amazing deal. That is active, by the way, until Veterans Day, and that's November 11th. So that's fast approaching. So if you want those tickets, that discount has been extended until November 11th. And so you want to get that as quickly as possible to join us in Markham, Ontario, Canada for Twin Souls live and virtual both. And that really wraps up our seminar for today. And it's been a lot of fun. I'm glad that we got this episode into the recording bank and into the vaults, because we weren't able to put it off on the Sunday schedule as normal due to circumstances. But boy, I'm really glad that we shared this with the audience, Lori.
Me too. Very important information that all couples really need to do a deeper dive into and pay more attention to. It can make all the difference in the world in your relationship.
Have a fantastic week. Have great relationships. And remember, great relationships take a lot of effort, take a lot of work, but they blossom into something absolutely special. Until next time, I'm one of the Twin Souls, Brian Gangle. Thank you for joining us.
And I'm Lori McNeil, the other Twin Soul. Thank you so much.
Blessings to you all. We love you. Bye for now.